incessant rainfall and the waterlogging that we've been discussing. We had the Deputy Mayor who said that there is some amount of work that is currently underway to drain out the water from several of these areas. But Jatin Singh, if you can hear me at the moment, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. You know, I want to ask you, and a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, have the same questions. You know, one doesn't see consistent rainfall spread across the monsoon season. Instead, what we're seeing are these sporadic showers, you know, intense rainfall for a short span of time, leading to the urban infrastructure completely crumbling in the manner that it has.
There are two ways of looking at it. What you're saying is what the general global warming scenario is, that the averages remain the same, but the number of rainy days goes down, so you tend to get compressed rainfall. And that was to a great extent true for a lot of the years in the 2000s. But I would say that 2020 is an exception. It has been consistent. I'm talking about on a national scale. It has been raining consistently all across India from June onwards. June was surplus, July was -9, August is right now doing well. And in every normal year, you would get 1 or 2 days in which Delhi and NCR tends to sink. Now this year you might get more, not necessarily because the rainfall is compressed. It is because it is somewhat of a La Nina year, and the amount of rainfall across the subcontinent is actually going to be expected to be higher than normal. So I would imagine that by the 1st of October, if I look at all the 4 months, the monsoon would be between above normal, maybe edging to excess. So if I spread that out, you will see more rainfall across the country this year.
All right, so more rainfall across the country this year, something
a global warming pattern.
Okay, something that we need to brace for. I'm gonna come back to you because we have several questions around what's really happening with rainfall. It's very important for it to rain, remember, but in the manner that it has and over this short time, does it actually do more damage than good? We also have Vaishali Nigam Sinha. She's the Chief Sustainability, CSR and Communications Officer of Renew Power. She's a resident of Gurugram and also works there. Vaishali Sinha, there are several individuals like yourselves. You live in the so-called Millennium City. There are so many top offices, you know, corporates, MNCs that operate out of Gurugram. And yet, if you look at the kind of visuals that we've been playing on our screen since the morning, how does that make you feel? How does that affect your life and work?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you for having me on your show and giving me an opportunity to talk about this very important matter. And I think everybody's been talking about it, not only in India, but globally. And this is the kind of wonder or the disadvantage of social media. But honestly, it really is devastating. It's disappointing to see that some of the biggest corporates and MNCs are housed in Gurgaon. We've invested the state-of-the-art in offices here. We, contribute a handsome amount to the state exchequer in the form of taxes. However, I think there is a problem with respect to, planning and a continuous operation and maintenance activity, which is lacking. I think there is a lack of coordination in the various organizations which work together for maintenance. It's just not enough. And I think there is not enough planning, there's not enough organization. And if I look at the number of people who are actually dying due to, accidents and inadequate infrastructure, flooding and various other things compared to COVID, I think it's not comparable. Many more people, I think 7, 8 more times, number of people die because of these issues. So we really need the government, the local bodies to focus on things like waterlogging, power cuts, water-related issues. And the money is there, I think. And it's just a question of better implementation.
Vaishali Sinha, can I ask you a very straight question? And I think a lot of citizens who live across Delhi, NCR, even Mumbai for that matter, will resonate with your concerns. Is this bad for business?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Is this bad for business?
Yeah, I mean, we are thankfully we're working from home. Most of us are working from home. But if we were going into work, you lose a day of work. Nobody can get to the office. It's bad for climate. I mean, a lot of cars are stuck. People are trying to get to work and they don't get to work. So it's a good day lost at work, which is definitely not good for business. And this is just a small way. I mean, people getting to work, but then businesses are disrupted, and sort of plants are shut down, and there are a lot of other consequences which are quite negative. So I'm afraid, to have this happen in Gurgaon is not good for the nation itself, because this nowadays things are not limited to Delhi itself. We are facing the problem.
Absolutely. This is happening all over, and in fact, we did a global focus at 5:30 where we looked at issues of climate change, flooding in China, for instance, which is dominating the headlines for weeks on end now. Anshul Prakash, are we just not prepared? Is the bottom line all boils down to the fact that there is skewed development? There has been, over concretization, or whatever you call it in technical terms, and which is where rainwater, even though it's coming in sporadically, intense rain over a short period of time, just doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah. So, see, one of the major issue is that our infrastructure is not climate adaptive.
Yes.
Climate scientists have been telling us for a long time that these things are going to come. This has already come, and we now have to face it. The problem again is the infrastructure has to gear up to these changes. Now, I'll give you one example: the storm water drainage, which has been planned for a different kind of rain pattern. Now, changes in rainfall patterns or variability in rainfall, that means that you have a limited period of time, you have a huge rainfall which will come up. So the infrastructure has to come up to that level. And that's where the problem lies, that the city's drainage system is totally collapsed when this kind of incidents happen. And you've seen it in Bombay, you have seen it here, you have seen cities after cities facing the similar problems, and we are not acting upon it.
Right. I want to at this moment go back. We do have the senior deputy mayor of Gurugram back with us on the broadcast, Pramila Kablana. Pramila ji, हम आपसे बात कर रहे थे. Apologies, I had to interrupt you earlier. But Pramila ji, हम हर टाइम जब भी तेज बारिश होती है, हम देखते हैं कि गुड़गांव के रोड स्पेशली अंडरपासेस पूरी तरीके से पानी से भर जाते हैं. ये पहली बार नहीं हुआ है, बहुत बारी पहले भी हो चुका है. तो क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा रहे हैं इसको प्रिवेंट करने के लिए, ये सिचुएशन को रोकने के लिए क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा रहे हैं?
बड़े बड़े जो ड्रेनेज है उनकी सफाई, जैसे बादशाहपुर ड्रेनेज है, उनकी सफाई का कार्य किया जा रहा है. जब बड़े जो जहाँ पूरे शहर की पानी का निकासी होती है वो ड्रेनेज की सफाई होगी, तभी ये जो सिचुएशन शहर में पैदा हुई है ये दोबारा नहीं होगी. तो उनकी सफाई का कार्य
बट ये हुआ क्यों नहीं है? क्योंकि मेट डिपार्टमेंट ने वार्निंग्स इशू करी हैं कि देयर इज गोइंग टू बी मोर देन हेवी रेनफॉल, स्पोरेडिक रेनफॉल. ये ट्रेंड जैसा बन चुका है. और ये गुरुग्राम की ही बात नहीं है, ये नोएडा में भी हो रहा है, दिल्ली में भी हो रहा है, हमने मुंबई में भी देखा है. इसका समाधान क्या है, सोल्यूशन क्या है आपके नजर में?
वही बड़े बड़े ड्रेनेज की सफाई का कार्य है, बारिश से पहले हो जाए, जो कि अभी चल रहा था. और ये कम टाइम में और ज्यादा भारी बारिश के कारण.
प्रोमिला जी, फिर सवाल ये उठता है कि ये हुआ क्यों नहीं है?
नहीं, वो तो जो भी कार्य है उसमें थोड़ा टाइम लगता है करने में. सफाई का कार्य चल रहा था और अब आगे कोशिश रहेगी कि इस प्रकार की हालत पैदा ना हो.
All right, Pramila Kablana, they're saying that cleaning the drains regularly is of course a solution. She says, however, that the work was underway when this downpour did in fact happen. Let me go back to Jatin Singh at the moment. Jatin Singh, of course, a whole host of questions in terms of what lies ahead.
You cannot question the episodic truth. The fact is that our urban areas, now it's not so much, and of course, climate change has had a difference in pattern of rainfall. But if you look at the quantum of rainfall and the impact it is having, that is somewhat disproportionate.
And then
a lot of that has to do with overpopulation. For example, Mumbai is a city, has 3 rivers, and all of that has disappeared. The drainage is gone. So when you're going to build, and it is and you take return period data, and then you try to say, so how deep should my drainage should be, which is going to cost a lot of money, and how am I going to invest so that for one day excess, how that drainage water is going to get drained out is going to cost a lot of money. And all of that gets computed into actually reducing the standards. And then we get a situation that you have in Gurgaon. It's a city, we all know that has not really been planned. It has come up in pieces. It was,
Yes.
it was under.
I think that's
private
a very important point that you raised there, Jatin Singh. And let me take this to Dikshu Kukreja joining us on the broadcast. She's a town planner. Explain to us. Would you, Mr. Dikshu, blame build for what we're seeing happen? Complete lack of planning. We have no idea where all this rainwater collected needs to go. There are ad hoc pumps that are installed to just try and drain out the water from where it's drained. But where is all of this water going to go?
Absolutely right, Ishika. So, we have year after year, we see city after city in India submerged in the monsoons every time we have the monsoon coming in. And we hear this from the politicians or the municipal officers that, desilting of drains could not take place, or it was not in my jurisdiction, it was in the other municipalities' jurisdiction. Let's move away from that. We've heard enough of that. My suggestion is that time has come that we need a national water management policy. A few months from now, I'm sure we'll be debating on your TV channel about the fact that our cities are running dry without water. So isn't it ironical that when we get so much water in the monsoons year after year, all we need is a proper planning, a national water management policy. Water is no more a necessity. It has actually become a luxury that is part of our necessity. If you understand what I mean. So when we will not have any water and we are getting this rainwater, isn't it imperative that we conserve this water? And also I would suggest that just the way we have distributed and privatized gas pipes and electricity, it's the same way we need to privatize water distribution as well. We need to involve the RWAs. We need to create water reservoirs under our parks. We need to conserve every single drop of this water. And unless we do that, we will just be blaming year after year and trying to grapple with solutions.
Dikshu Kukreja, the big question that is on a lot of people's mind is how do you now go forward? I mean, you're saying that Gurugram, for instance, and we're putting out those visuals on our screens from Gurugram at the moment, you're saying that it was all built ad hoc. There's lack of planning. But the point is that it's built now. These areas that are completely inundated are already built, whether it is underpasses, whether it is building structures that lack, proper drainage system. How can this situation be mitigated? What's the crisis management strategy?
So, of course, the situation can be mitigated. There is technology. There's technology that we have today which can identify positions where cities get clogged. And once we identify that, we need to find the logical solutions for that. So that means wherever there are low-lying areas, if they are like you said, in underpasses, we have to introduce pumps, standby pumps, so that the water can be pulled out of there. If there is water being collected in open areas, we need to create, when I say a water management policy, that is exactly what I'm talking about. We should have a whole network of lakes which can be created in Gurgaon. Is there any such thing in Gurgaon?
Right.
No, unfortunately not. On the contrary, what we hear in the news is that in our national capital, Delhi, there are lakes on paper, which are left on paper, but in reality, they have just disappeared. So when that is the apathy we citizens are facing, where are the solutions going to come from? So there, I believe there has to be a genuine concerted effort, and I compliment you for bringing out through your media channel this issue, because unless we are able to really sensitize people that, we need to take this in our hands, just the way we did with CNG, just the way we did with Diwali crackers, I think the time has come. We need to understand the importance of water. We cannot let it do this to our cities year after year. So it is all possible,
Well,
and I'm again repeating, technology can help us achieve it.
Okay.
And planners, all planners are having that know-how out here to be finding the solution. But the local authorities, they will have to move away from the concept, Ishika, of lowest tender. Even for appointing consultants like us, they go for a lowest price bid basis. Is that the solution? Is that what China or any other country has done? No.
All right. So the lowest price bid tender perhaps is a system that needs to be done away with. Several very, very important suggestions that you make there, Dikshu Kukreja. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but this is an issue that we will continue to address and raise and, of course, look for solutions while we continue to report on the state of affairs. Thank you all very much for joining me this evening.